The frost clung to everything that November morning, transforming the familiar farm into something crystalline and strange. Max's breath clouded the air as he stretched on the porch, his German Shepherd heritage evident in the powerful shoulders, his mixed lineage softening his features just enough to make him approachable rather than intimidating. 4 years of life on this isolated property had taught him every sound, every scent, every rhythm of the place. The farmer's boots would hit the wooden floor inside at exactly 6:15. The cattle would low from the north pasture as the sun crested the ridge. The chickens would begin their soft morning murmurs as light touched the coop's tin roof. Everything happened as it always did. Max made his rounds, paws crunching through frozen grass, marking the invisible boundaries he'd learned through years of patient training. The property line ran along the split-rail fence, exactly 50 meters to the barn, then curved south toward the creek. He never crossed it. Good dogs stayed where they belonged. The speckled brown hen emerged from the coop with her 2 yellow chicks trailing behind. Their small bodies puffed against the cold. She scratched at the ground near the feeding area, teaching them how to find scattered grain between patches of frost. Max had watched her hatch those chicks 3 weeks ago, had heard the farmer's casual comment about keeping the coop door latched at night. The latch hung loose now, had been loose for days, but the farmer worked long hours in town and forgot these small details. Max noticed things the farmer missed. Around mid-morning he found the feathers. Just 3 of them, caught on the lower fence wire near the eastern property line. Brown feathers, but not from any of their chickens. The ground beneath showed disturbance. Something had squeezed under the fence, leaving a depression in the soft earth. Max lowered his nose to the spot, inhaling deeply. The scent hit him like a warning bell, wild, musky, predatory. Not raccoon, not possum. Fox, something's wrong. He circled the area twice, finding more signs. A partial paw print in the mud near the water trough. Scratch marks on the coop's back wall, fresh splinters pale against weathered wood. The mother hen seemed nervous too, keeping her chicks closer than usual, her head swiveling at every distant sound. When the farmer returned that evening, Max tried to show him the signs, whining and pawing at the loose coop latch. The man barely glanced down. "You're fine, boy." "Just jumpy." He went inside, and the kitchen lights glowed warm against the gathering darkness. The sun bled out behind the western hills, painting the sky in shades of amber and rust. Shadows stretched long across the frozen ground, and the temperature dropped fast. Max settled near the porch but couldn't relax. His ears swiveled constantly, catching sounds too distant or too subtle for human hearing. The cattle had gone quiet. The chickens huddled inside their coop, the mother hen's soft clucking barely audible. Then he saw her, 50 meters away. At the edge of the tree line, where darkness pooled beneath the pines. A silhouette materialized against the fading light. The fox stood motionless, her red coat darkened to rust in the twilight, her ears pricked forward. She was watching, calculating. Even from this distance, Max could see the intelligence in her stillness, the patience of a hunter who knew how to wait. Their eyes met across the distance. Hers caught the last rays of sunset, reflecting amber and gold like small fires burning in the shadows. She didn't move, neither did Max. The moment stretched, a silent acknowledgement between predator and guardian. Then she melted back into the darkness, as if she'd never been there at all. Max's heart hammered against his ribs. He stood, every muscle tense, scanning the tree line. Nothing moved, but her scent drifted on the cold wind, stronger now, closer than the morning's traces. She'd been here before. She'd studied them. She knew exactly what she wanted. The farmhouse went dark around 10. The farmer slept, trusting locked doors and the illusion of safety. Max jolted awake to the sound that would haunt him forever, the mother hen's alarm call. High-pitched and desperate, cutting through the silence like a blade. Not the soft clucking of contentment, or the mild fussing of minor disturbances. This was terror, pure and primal. He was running before conscious thought caught up, his paws finding purchase on frost-slicked ground. The coop was 30 meters away. He covered the distance in seconds, his vision adjusting to the moonlight that painted everything in silver and shadow. The fox had the coop door half open, her body wedged in the gap. Her teeth inches from the mother hen, who'd positioned herself between the predator and her chicks. The hen's wings spread wide, making herself larger, her beak open in continuous screaming alarm. Max hit the fox like a freight train. She twisted away with remarkable speed, but not before his shoulder caught her flank, sending her sprawling. She recovered instantly, circling back, her lips pulled away from white teeth. They faced each other in the moonlight, the dog bred for protection, the fox driven by hunger. She feinted left, and Max countered, keeping himself between her and the coop. Stay within the boundaries. Good dogs stay where they belong. But the mother hen's terrified clucking continued, and the fox darted right. Faster than Max expected, slipping past his guard. She was heading for the gap in the coop door. Max didn't think. He launched himself forward, past the invisible property line he'd never crossed. Past the training that had governed 4 years of his life. His teeth caught the fox's tail, yanking her backward. She spun with a snarl, her claws raking across his left shoulder. Pain exploded white-hot through muscle and nerve. Blood welled up, matting his fur, dark against the silver moonlight. But he didn't let go, didn't back down, didn't retreat to the safety of his boundaries. The fox saw something in his eyes then, commitment beyond training, determination beyond pain. She released a low growl, backing away slowly, 10 feet, 15. Her eyes never left his, as she melted into the darkness beyond the property line. Max stood at the coop entrance, his shoulder throbbing with each heartbeat, blood dripping onto frozen ground. The mother hen had gone quiet, but he could hear her soft movements inside, settling her chicks beneath her wings. He could see the fox's eyes in the distant tree line, twin points of reflected moonlight. Watching, waiting, she hadn't given up, she'd only retreated. And Max understood with absolute certainty. This was just the beginning. The hours crawled past like wounded prey. Max held his position at the coop entrance, shoulder screaming with each shift of weight. Blood had dried in sticky clumps through his fur, and the cold worked its way deeper into the torn muscle. Midnight came and went. 1 a.m. The fox's eyes remained visible in the distant tree line, patient and unblinking. At 2 a.m., she returned. This time she approached from the west, using the barn's shadow for cover. No wild charge, calculated movement testing his alertness. Max forced himself upright, ignoring the fresh spike of pain that radiated down his left leg. He positioned himself squarely before the coop door, but his stance was narrower now, compensating for the injured shoulder. The fox saw it. She circled right, forcing him to pivot on his bad side. He moved slower than before, each step deliberate. She feinted toward the coop, and when Max lunged to intercept, his left foreleg buckled slightly. Not much, just enough. She didn't press the advantage, not yet. Instead, she withdrew 15 feet and sat, watching him struggle to resettle his weight. Learning his limitations, the cold bit deeper into his injured shoulder. His breath formed thick clouds in the frozen air. The ground felt like iron beneath his paws, leaching warmth from his body with each passing minute. The fox rose and moved to the coop's far side, where the chicken wire met the wooden frame. She began testing the fence line with her nose, searching for weaknesses Max couldn't defend from his position. He limped around the coop's perimeter, tracking her movement. But she stayed just ahead of him, making him work for every defensive position. At the coop door, she suddenly reversed direction. Max turned too quickly. His shoulder joint locked, and for 3 heartbeats he couldn't move at all. The fox covered half the distance to the door before he could force himself between her and the entrance. She stopped 2 feet away, close enough that he could see the desperation in her amber eyes. They held the standoff for 30 seconds, then she retreated into the darkness. At 4 a.m., she made the 3rd attempt. This time she went for the roof, scaling the wooden support beam with surprising agility. Max heard her claws scraping across the tin surface above the nesting boxes. The mother hen's alarm call shifted to a higher, more frantic pitch. He couldn't reach the roof, couldn't stop her if she found a gap in the tin panels. He barked sharp, loud, continuous. The sound echoed across the frozen farmyard. Nothing stirred in the farmhouse. The fox paused her exploration of the roof, annoyed by the noise but not deterred. Max kept barking until his throat went raw. The fox found the ventilation gap near the roof's peak, began working at the wire mesh covering it. Her claws scraped metal. Inside, the chick's frightened peeping rose to a chorus. Then she stopped, lifted her head, listened to something Max couldn't hear. After a long moment, she descended from the roof and vanished again into the night. But Max understood. She was learning the coop's vulnerabilities faster than he could defend them. His legs trembled with exhaustion. The wound had reopened with his frantic movements, fresh blood seeping through the dried crust. His vision blurred at the edges. Dawn felt impossibly far away. He settled heavily onto the frozen ground, positioning himself against the coop door. If she came again, he'd have to rise from a lying position, slower, more vulnerable. Can I do this until morning? The coop door creaked open slightly. Max's head snapped up, ready to defend against an attack from inside. But it was the mother hen, squeezing through the gap he'd left when he'd pursued the fox earlier. She emerged fully, her feathers fluffed against the cold. For a long moment, she stood in the moonlight, studying him with one dark eye. Then she walked directly to him, not behind him for protection but beside him. She settled against his uninjured right side, her warm body pressed against his ribs. Max went completely still. In 4 years of guarding this farm, no chicken had ever voluntarily approached him. They scattered when he patrolled, gave him wide berth when he passed. He was the guardian, separate by nature and training. But this hen tucked herself against him like he was another source of warmth and safety. Not just a barrier between her and death. Her heartbeat fluttered rapidly against his side. She was terrified, but she'd chosen to face that terror beside him rather than hide. Something shifted in Max's chest. The exhaustion didn't fade, the pain didn't lessen. But the isolation, the crushing weight of defending alone against an enemy that wouldn't stop, lifted slightly. He wasn't alone. The fox emerged from the shadows at 4:47 a.m., and this time her approach was different. She came straight toward them, no feinting, no testing. Her eyes were fixed not on Max, but on the hen beside him. The mother hen saw her coming. She stood, fluffed her feathers to twice her normal size, and released a sound Max had never heard from a chicken, a deep, rattling hiss mixed with aggressive clucking. She spread her wings wide, making herself as large as possible, and took 3 steps toward the fox. The fox hesitated, surprised by prey that advanced instead of fled. Max used that moment. He lunged forward, putting himself between hen and fox, using his body's momentum to compensate for his compromised shoulder. The fox dodged left, trying to circle around to where the hen stood exposed. But the hen pivoted with her, maintaining eye contact, that aggressive display never wavering. She was buying Max time to reposition. They moved together, unplanned but coordinated, the hen keeping the fox's attention divided. Max cutting off escape routes back to the coop entrance. A hiss split the air from above. The barn cat, a scarred tabby who'd never shown interest in the chicken's welfare, stood on the barn's roof edge, back arched, green eyes fixed on the fox. She hissed again, loud and sharp. The fox's head swiveled between 3 opponents now. Her tactical advantage had evaporated. She backed away, slower this time, reassessing. Dawn broke gray and cold. The fox retreated to the tree line as pale light spread across the frozen ground. Max's legs gave out. He collapsed beside the coop, unable to stand another moment. The mother hen immediately returned to his side, settling against him. Within minutes, 3 of her chicks squeezed through the coop door gap and nestled into the space between Max's legs and body, seeking warmth. That's how the farmer found them 20 minutes later. He stood in the farmyard, coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips, taking in the scene. Blood trail from the coop to the property line, fox tracks everywhere. His dog lying in a protective curl, around chickens who should have feared him. The torn shoulder, the exhaustion in Max's eyes that didn't fade even when his master approached. The farmer knelt in the frozen dirt, hands gentle on bloodied fur. "You've been fighting all night." He carried Max to the barn, the mother hen following close behind, clucking soft reassurance to her chicks. The farmer cleaned and bandaged the wound with careful efficiency, brought water and food, then returned to the coop with wire cutters and fresh chicken wire. He reinforced the roof vent, secured the door latch, added wire along the fence base, where fox tracks showed digging attempts. Max rested through the day, but sleep came in fragments. Every sound brought his head up, every shadow movement caught his attention. And through the barn door's opening, he could see the distant tree line. The fox sat there at noon, barely visible, watching, waiting. Dusk arrived too quickly. The temperature dropped as gray light faded to darkness. The farmer emerged from the house carrying a powerful flashlight and his grandfather's walking stick. He positioned himself near the coop, scanning the property's edges. The fox appeared at the tree line, and even from 50 yards away, Max could see the difference in her posture. No more testing, no more calculated attempts. This was desperation made flesh. Her ribs showed through her fur. Her movements carried the frantic energy of a mother whose kits were starving. She began walking toward the coop, steady and determined. Max rose despite the pain, despite the exhaustion, despite every instinct screaming that he'd given everything already. He limped to the coop entrance and stood. The mother hen emerged from inside. She didn't hide behind him. She stood beside him, wings slightly spread. The fox kept coming. The farmer's flashlight beam caught her eyes, turning them to points of green fire. She didn't stop. Max understood tonight would decide everything. The fox charged. No more circling, no more testing. She came straight at the coop door with the speed of absolute desperation, a rust-colored blur against the darkness. Max intercepted her 3 feet from the entrance. Their bodies collided with a sound like thunder, teeth snapping, claws scraping frozen ground. The farmer's flashlight beam swung wildly, catching fragments, fur and fang, amber eyes blazing, brown eyes unwavering. The fox twisted beneath him, surprisingly strong. Her jaws snapped at his injured leg. Pain exploded white-hot through Max's shoulder, but he shifted his weight, using his bulk to corner her against the fence. She was faster, but he was learning. He cut off her angles, herding her away from the coop, with movements born from something deeper than training. Behind him, the mother hen erupted from the coop entrance. Her wings spread wide, alarm calls piercing the night. The sound disoriented the fox for one crucial heartbeat. Max lunged. His teeth closed inches from her neck. The fox's claws raked his side, a new wound to match the old, but he didn't let her through. Couldn't let her through, every muscle screamed, his vision blurred at the edges. But between him and those chicks lived something he'd never felt before, purpose. Pure and absolute, the fox backed against the fence, cornered. Max stood over her, breathing hard, blood soaking through his bandages. Their eyes met, amber locked with brown. Understanding passed between predators in a language older than words. The fox saw truth in Max's stance. He would die before he moved. She read it in his wounds, in his trembling legs that refused to buckle. In the way he positioned himself despite everything his body begged him to stop. The cost was too high. Her kits needed a mother who survived. The fox stepped sideways slowly, not fleeing, choosing. She walked toward the tree line with her head high, looking back once. An acknowledgement. These chickens belonged to the dog now. She would hunt elsewhere. Max's legs gave out. He collapsed onto his side, breath coming in ragged gasps. "I've never seen anything like this," the farmer whispered, rushing forward with gentle hands. Dawn brought proper bandaging, warm food, and exhausted sleep. 3 days later, Max could walk without limping. The mother hen stayed close during his recovery, as if standing guard over her guardian. A week passed. The farmer reinforced the entire coop, removed food scraps that drew predators, understood his own responsibility in what had almost happened. Now at sunset, Max slept inside the coop. The chicks nestled against his fur. The mother hen perched on his back, head tucked beneath her wing. Through the barn door's opening, the fox was sometimes visible at the distant tree line. She never approached, the boundary held. The farmer watched them through the window, a cup of coffee warming his hands, and understood what he'd witnessed. Not training, not instinct alone, love made manifest through courage. Purpose discovered through sacrifice. Sometimes the smallest act of protection changes everything, transforms a pet into a guardian, a stranger into family, fear into unshakable bond.